Imagine you're driving down 85, you have your music on, you're listening, you're chilling, you're good, and all of a sudden your life comes to a crippling end. I'm here to tell you why a person's license should be taken away as soon as they are found intoxicated. I'm going to tell you about my story and how drunk driving has affected my life. I'm going to tell you how it endangers others, what happens when you're caught, and what will happen in the long-term effect. So we're going to start out with talking about when you're driving drunk, you are not just putting yourself at risk, but you're putting somebody else at risk. You have to remember every time a person is driving, they are somebody's son or daughter. It's not like we're all different, we're human. So I researched, and lowcostinternetlock.com, drinking and driving, had a whole section on how slowed reaction time and how you lose coordination. So when you are drunk, you lose your coordination and you lose your reaction time. It slows down by almost 80%. That's a lot. So like if a car stops in front of you, it's going to take you 80 times more time to realize that that car has stopped. You would hit that car. Coordination, if you can't touch your nose, the effects are that you're not going to be able to steer the wheel in the same direction, even if the road is straight. My second one is I'm going to tell you about what happens when you're caught. So when you're caught, the chances are you can get a DUI, you might not. It just depends on how much alcohol was in your system, which I don't think is fair, because if you are getting behind a vehicle and you're moving and there's alcohol in your system, there's a chance of you hurting somebody. So I believe that even if it's less than 0.08%, you should be put under a DUI and have your license suspended and taken away. You would have to go back through all of these things, but that's okay, because you would be getting the help you needed to relearn the road and relearn what you're not supposed to do when you have alcohol. So I learned that information from www.lawyers.com. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about how drunk driving has affected my life. Going from this aspect, it has affected my life very hardly, because my dad was a home diagnosed alcoholic and I was about 13. And going from point one with poor judgment and decision making and your coordination, my dad decided to get me into a car with him when he was intoxicated. It was not my choice. And we were driving and he was going over 90 miles an hour. We hit a bridge and we flipped. He never said sorry for that. But I'm thankful that it wasn't with somebody else. Like he hit somebody else, it was with me. But think about that. If he was alone, he could have hit some other bystander. He could have hit an animal. He could have hit something else. He was never caught with a DUI. So what is going to happen when you actually are convicted of a DUI? Your whole life is going to basically turn upside down. Let's talk about your employment. Your current job may be also affected by your DUI or conviction because of court dates, jail time, and community service. This can wreak havoc on your schedule for work, and your job is not going to look at you fondly for driving under the influence of alcohol. You may only be able to get the jobs of low standard, basically, and jobs that are requiring any driving. You can't drive a truck, you can't deliver pizza, you can't do catering, you can't do any of that. So anything you could really pick up, you couldn't do. Your professional relationships are going to be affected. A DUI arrest and not even a conviction can adversely affect the way people perceive you and how coworkers receive you. And to give you another backstory here is my dad drove drunk to church one day, and you could obviously tell he was drunk. He was stumbling and slurring, and he threw up in the parking lot, and all my friends at church saw that he was drunk, and I was then known as the girl who had the drunk dad. That was very hard because I did mission trips for 5 years with that group, and to know that they judged me because of that, it was very hard. So, even if he didn't even get a DUI, he just acted drunk and people judged. And I'm not even the person who should be really affected by this. It should be him. So depending on your company and the policy and who you're working for, the job, it's not going to be good. So I learned that from backtrack.com. I want to talk to you also about penalties. Your penalties right now are jail time, community service, and going back through a defensive driving course. That's not a lot, and most people are not going to learn what they need to learn in a 3-hour session of defensive driving. This is when the license needs to be taken away, and this is when the person needs to work to gain it back. Because if you're not working to gain it back, you're not really taking responsibility for your own actions at that point. So to conclude, I want to go over my main 3 points again, and that was the endangerment of others, what will happen when you're caught, and what was the long-term effect. I'm going to leave you with these words. Please, whatever you do, don't drive drunk or intoxicated or under the influence of anything.